Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Motovloggers Unplugged. This week we have Pete, better known as Hippo-Drones. Let's go meet him. Hi Pete, how you doing mate? Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you for inviting me.
Great, will we just get straight into it?
Yeah, cool. Sounds good to me.
Okay, question number one. Start off easy. How long have you been riding motorbikes?
I've been riding motorbikes since I was 16. Had a little Honda MT5 as my first bike, which my dad very kindly got me as a 16th birthday present.
Okay.
So incredibly lucky there. And so that's nearly 45 years.
Yeah.
Is that right? No, not 45. God, I'm not that old. And nearly 35 years.
35 years? Oh, you've been riding bikes for a while then. A lot
A
longer
little
than
bit,
me.
yep.
What was your first bike? You've
I
just
just mentioned it then. It was a Honda MT5 and it would do about 25 mile per hour on a good day.
Yeah. Good. Out of all your bikes, what has been your favourite bike?
I guess it's got to be my Moto Guzzi V7 that I customised.
Right.
I had that bike the longest. I had that 12 years. I went around Europe on it, done camping trips, did track days, and obviously I did quite heavily customised with a frame chop and paint and fancy wheels and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's definitely my favouriteest motorcycle that I've owned.
Yeah, okay. How did you come up with your channel's name?
When I was a little bit younger, not young, but when I was a little bit younger, I had a alter ego that was my belly, and it would be "Hippo's going to get you,"
Right. Okay.
because it's a bit of a beer belly I've got on there, and with me top off, it kind of looks like a hippo's head. And the drone bit is just because I drone on about rubbish.
I thought it was maybe the flying drone.
No, I did have a drone for a little while on the channel, but it was coincidental rather than a part of it.
Yeah, okay. How would you describe your channel?
Other than rubbish, it's primarily a vlogging channel, a motor vlogging channel where I just talk rubbish while I'm out riding, whether it's off to a cafe or trail riding or track days or whatever. I even mic myself up on track days sometimes and vlog while doing the track day. But yeah, it's just motorcycles really. Although there has been the odd, I did some skydiving and stuff like that. So there's been a little bit of that on there and some boat stuff as well. But yeah, it's motorcycles, vlogging, and I do the odd review if I get hold of a bike that I can review.
Yep, fair enough. What made you start motovlogging?
To be honest, it was not having anyone else to ride with really was my main issue. When I was sort of in my earlier time riding bikes, I had quite a lot of people in the area, and we'd all meet up at Rikers, up at Box Hill, and go for spins and stuff like that. But they either got married, had babies, or both, or just moved on or gave up biking and stuff. Yeah. So I ended up with less and less people to ride with, and I saw some channels that I still watch and I'm friends with nowadays, which is kind of cool. And I was like, I could do that. And it worked. I then had lots of people I could ride with whenever I wanted to, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a good community as well.
It's amazing. It really is.
Vlogging, and everybody's friendly and helpful.
Yeah. I don't really think I've ever come across anyone really that wasn't through the motor vlogging community.
Yep, definitely. I'm the same. How did it feel to speak to the camera for the first time?
No one likes the sound of their own voice, but you can't hear it when you're doing a motovlog. So, I've always sort of talked to myself in my crash helmet anyway. When I've been riding along, whether it's calling someone a see you next Tuesday or something like that due to their inabilities, or just talking about stuff, whatever. It's always been like a little bit of a therapy getting on a motorcycle for me.
Yeah.
And then sticking an actual microphone in my crash helmet, it wasn't too weird. I think everyone knows who's done motovlogging that the first few videos, or even more, the first big handful of videos are kind of pretty much lame and rubbish because one, you haven't sorted your audio out, two, your camera's probably pointing off over in that direction or not even running. You end up finding your feet and your rhythm and your voice really.
I done that last year. I travelled down this. It's a place called the Hell's Glen, and I travelled all the way down. I was speaking and commenting all the way down. I got at the bottom, I got off the bike, and the camera was on, but I hadn't pressed record, I had to ride all the way back and do it again.
At least you were able to do that. I had a similar issue. I used to do English heritage motovlogs.
Right.
So I'd go to all the English heritage castles in my sort of area.
Okay.
And I did this one trip to Dover Castle, which was a whole day out and a big old drive to get there for me from where I live, or ride rather. And I got there and I recorded an amazing vlog of my first experience walking around Dover Castle. Got all the way home and the mic was no audio at all. So I went back the next day in my car.
I don't blame you.
And re-recorded the castle-y bit. All the stuff on the motorbike had worked, which was quite good.
Yeah.
But the castle stuff hadn't. So I re-recorded the castle bit. But I was so annoyed because it wasn't my first impression of it.
Yeah.
So that kind of joy was just a little bit watered down. But the good thing was I knew more about what I was talking about second time round. So swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, that makes sense. How has your content evolved since you began motovlogging?
I still talk absolute rubbish most of the time in my videos. It's just the rubbish that comes up in my head. I very rarely plan like a subject.
Right.
I know a lot of channels that's what they do. They'll go, right, I'm going to talk about this today or this, and they'll know stuff about what it is they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I've actually got a video queued. I haven't uploaded it, but a video in my file of videos to do, which is actually a subject. But normally I don't do that.
Right.
So I think as an evolution of what I do, I think it's more learning that I don't need to add into my videos everything that I say.
Yeah.
So I think my editing has evolved really. I still talk the rubbish, but I cut out some of it. I mean, you possibly wouldn't know that looking at my videos. You think, oh my God, shut up, man. But the amount that hits the cutting room floor is quite a lot.
I do that sometimes as well. I think to myself, what did I say that for?
Yep.
I get cut. What do you want your audience to take away from your content?
If they're a new subscriber, I want them to be entertained enough to possibly want to come back for some more and see some of my other stuff, and maybe look through my back catalogue of videos.
Yep.
I mean, it's difficult because the easiest way to get people to come and have a look at your channel is to do bike reviews or something like that.
Yep.
And if you're not a bike reviewer, then they're going to come back to your other videos and go, well, that's not what I signed up for. So I hope that people like my personality. I hope that comes through on the camera in my vlogs enough for them to carry on watching it really. But motovlogging was always for me kind of about the community, because that's why I started it, was to find people to ride with.
Yep.
So I guess internet friends.
Yeah. No, that's fine. What brand of cameras and microphones are you currently using?
So I wouldn't say I'm a GoPro fanboy, but I'm not a fan of some of the other brands. So I stick with GoPros. And for ages, I'd buy the latest GoPro whenever it came out. And I spent a fortune on it. And I'm still, at this stage in my channel, still paying for the cameras that I don't use anymore.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I've stopped doing that now pretty much. I've got a GoPro Hero 10, which I use on all my helmets. I used to have, sorry about that noise there. I used to have a camera for each helmet.
Yep.
Because I'd have my off-road lid, my road lid, and
Yeah.
another one which I'd sometimes use as well. And I'd use different settings for the trail riding versus the road riding.
Okay.
So it was easier to have a second camera for that, but it just got really expensive.
Yeah, I bet
So
it
when
did.
I upgraded to the 10, I didn't bother getting two of them. I've got an Insta360. This is the 1X2.
Right.
I hardly ever use that. And I've also got, sorry about me rattling noises and
Oh,
stuff.
that's okay.
I've got this Go 2, Insta Go 2.
They
And
seem quite good. That's what that
I
Mark Travels uses, isn't it?
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only any good really for like Instagram shorts and stuff
Right.
like that. The footage on it is great, but it I just don't find it really that useful.
Yeah.
The Insta360 is more useful, but again, I just don't use it. I just tend to use a single camera these days because I'm lazy. Um, I'm just trying to see if I've got any. Oh, here we go. So that's uh, there
Yes.
you go.
The
That's kind of how I set it up. So that bit goes into the camera. This bit is the microphone adapter, and that velcros onto the side of the chin piece on the helmet. And
okay.
this little bendy mic, I just push into up underneath the chin piece into my cheek pad,
Yeah.
and that sort of does the trick. These are like £6 or something like that
Right.
on Amazon. I tried the media mods, but this is too short to go from
To
the
go all the
media
way.
mod
Yeah.
into the helmet. And also, it's an absolute nightmare changing batteries
Yeah.
if you use the media mod.
Yeah.
So I just old school, and on the side of the camera, I've got like a Ulanzi battery door. I think
Right. Yep.
GoPro do their own version of this now,
Yes, that's right.
and you can plug the microphone in through that, and it keeps it sort of waterproof. Well, not waterproof, splash proof. And
Yeah.
then I put a little bit of blue tack around that to keep as much of the water out as I can,
Yeah.
because they do get very wet on the trail rides.
Oh, I bet they do.
Yeah,
And it's not just water; it's mud as well.
yeah, it's all gritty, horrible stuff.
Yeah. Do you film in full auto or do you use manual settings?
You mean with the GoPro Pro Tune and stuff like that?
Yes, or do
Yeah,
you change
it's
the
pretty much
white
all.
balance? Or
It's pretty much all in auto.
yeah,
I apologise. I've got a really squeaky chair, so I don't know if that's coming out on your audio or not.
I can hear it a wee bit, but it's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, it's no problem.
So I generally leave everything in auto. I think I use high bit rate.
Yep.
Medium sharpness is really the only thing that I change on them.
Yeah.
I don't like the look of really sharp.
Yep.
And it also eats into your bit rate a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
you might end up with just the things right in your instant vicinity looking really good, and then everything else kind of pixels out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have it on medium, it can spread that bit rate out a little bit, and I find
Yep.
that looks nicer overall.
Right. Okay. What resolution and frame rate do you use?
I always used to film in 1080 and 60 frames per second with SuperView. And then I'd upscale it on my editor to trick YouTube into giving the VP9 codec, which gives you better quality as a motovlogger. That's a top tip for anyone. If their camera's not up to doing, or their computers aren't up to editing 2.7K or 4K, record in 1080 as best quality as you can, and then upscale it on your editor to 2.7K or 4K. It won't be any larger a file size because you're changing the size of the picture, not the amount of information in it.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a better bit rate, so it'll look nicer on YouTube. But these days, I've got big memory cards, so I just record at 2.7K 60. I sometimes go down to 30 frames per second in dark environments, but I'll fix it at that. I don't use that auto darkness thing, because then you end up, it changes from 60 down to 30 frames per second while you're recording. So I'll either choose to go with 30 or choose to go with 60.
Yep, I'm planning to try some 25 frames per second this
Okay,
year.
I mean, I know a lot of the sort of like the big ones, like Chase on two wheels and stuff. He's used to, or he still does, the 25 frames per second. I don't see the point. but
No, I'm
I
just
know
trying
other
it for the
people
sake
like it.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But normally, I use 30 most of the time.
I think 30 is pretty good for the UK because we don't get a lot of sunshine,
Yeah,
and then you're getting a little bit more light to each frame.
yeah,
But if I'm going quicker using 60, it makes it a little bit smoother. I find.
yeah.
Um, on the trail rides, I really should just use 30 or 25 even, because the darkness
Yeah,
it really could do with that extra time.
yeah, that makes sense. Yep. What software do you use for editing and why?
I use Wondershare Filmora or Filmora Wondershare. I think it's on 14 now.
Yep.
I used to have an airsoft channel before I started motovlogging on
Okay.
YouTube, and I used it on that. It was like really easy to use. It wasn't expensive. It was like a one-time payment instead of a
Yep.
subscription thing. And yeah, that's just what I got used to. It does what I need it to do pretty much. There's not much um, that it I could want it to do better, really. It's not brilliant though. It does have glitches.
It's by far the most popular of everyone I have on this
Mhm.
program. That's definitely the most popular, the Filmora.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I used to run a motovlogging forum, and a lot of the guys on there use Resolve
yeah,
because Resolve does like a free version,
that's right. Yeah, that's what I
um,
use.
and they also have the pro version which you pay for,
Yeah,
and the pro version is really good.
yeah,
Like Adobe, as good as Adobe and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I think people who've used like the free version and then want to improve, it's an easy step for them to just pay for the pro, and they're
yeah.
already familiar with how it works.
That's what I done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas for me, to change from Filmora, I'd have to completely learn how to do something different.
it's a steep learning curve, but once you make a start on it, it's not that difficult.
If you do want tips on Resolve. One of the motovloggers on the Motovlog forum, he's done some tutorials on Resolve.
All right.
His motorcycle channel name is Road Reality. I can't remember what his editing channel's called because he's
I'm
got a
actually
separate channel for it.
I'm a member of that forum, but I keep forgetting about it because everything's social media now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you forget.
Forums are dying.
I know, and that's how I keep forgetting about it. I
Yeah.
think I'll need to go
I mean,
back on again.
I think there's about 5 people that post regularly on there,
Yeah,
and currently no new members are getting accepted either because I've stopped adminning on it, and
right,
the owner of the site he doesn't do anything. He's not
right.
interested in it anymore. So yeah, it's just those 5 people. I go on there every day pretty much just to
Yeah,
say hi because you make friendships with all the people, don't you?
yeah. I'll need to go back on again. I forgot about that. How much planning goes into your videos before you make them? You've kind of answered that, but
I strap my camera to my crash helmet. Sometimes remember to put a memory card in it,
and just
and
go.
then I go for a spin.
That's fine. What's the hardest part of managing a motovlogging channel?
um, Currently, I'm realizing that I kind of do the same thing over and over again, rinse and repeat. So not necessarily what I talk about, but I'll go to Riker's Cafe or I'll do my usual
Yeah,
trail loop that I do. So having a variety of different places to ride
yeah,
really helps. Uh, but then, I mean, one of the channels I actually Patreon to, Spicy 110. Um, he just rides around Hailing Island, which is the size of Crawley.
right.
It's just the size of a town, and he just rides around that, and he's got 100,000 subscribers. So
Yeah.
maybe I don't need to worry about that too much. But
I
that's
think
the thing that I find the hardest at the moment.
I think you'll find that no matter where you live, there's only so far you can go in one day's ride
Yeah,
out anyway. So you do kind of go on the same roads again.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of no matter where
It's why I
you are.
was quite chuffed to get hold of the Kalimoto app
Yep.
because even though I still stay in this radius from where I live, um, it's showing me all these country roads and stuff that I've never been down before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like the one we went on a couple of videos back with Mr. Fish.
Yep.
Uh, that one was brilliant, and I'd never know that road existed.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice having these apps which are getting a little bit cleverer.
Yeah, I've got Kalimoto, but I've never tried just letting it decide where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'll need to try that. These questions take forever to appear on the screen.
Mhm.
If you could go back to the beginning of your motovlogging journey, is there anything you would do differently?
I'd certainly buy less cameras. Yeah, I'd definitely buy less cameras. And I'd probably record less.
Yep.
In my early days, I was pumping out 2, sometimes 3 videos a week, which I think is great actually to get a foot start on your channel.
Yep.
But people don't, well, certainly not these days, they don't have time to watch that much content. And when you're new to motovlogging, you don't realise how much you need to chop out of a video.
Yeah.
So I'd be quite often putting up 30-minute plus videos and wondering why I was getting hardly any views.
Yeah.
It's because people are put off by longer videos. So I don't say never put up long videos, but I'd always say put a mix of longer and short ones up. So I'd probably try and be a bit better at editing and a bit less spending.
Yeah. Okay. How do you balance riding for pleasure versus riding for content?
I always ride for pleasure.
Always. Is there any times you go out without the camera?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you
do. I think it's really important to completely take the camera away from the equation.
Yep.
Because then you just focus on the riding. Whereas if you've got the camera, there's always the temptation, even if you weren't going to use it, there's always the temptation, I may as well record a video.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're just creating content for the sake of it.
Yeah.
It's something I touched on a recent video, I can't remember, even if I posted it, I can't remember, where I sort of said I like to try and keep all my videos kind of current. So if you go on a big trip and that's going to be like a multi-part video, then that's fair enough that comes out over time or even months away from that trip, because sometimes you just put those things up over winter and things like that. But if you're talking about stuff, I don't watch the news, so it's never going to be current affairs or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I need to be talking about something that if someone picked up that video when I put it out, it's going to be relevant to that time frame.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Are there any motovloggers that inspire you and why?
Well, definitely not Mr. Fish.
I'll keep that in this,
No, he said that I had to say that he inspired me, and actually he does. He's one of the channels I followed for one of the longer of times, and he's an awesome guy. So, but he's a mate. So I know he started off as just a motovlogger, but now he's a mate. But Phil 480 was one of the first channels I started seeing and going, oh, I could do that. And Andy Mancam as well.
Yep.
And both of them are people I count as mates. I talk to Phil a lot more often because obviously he's local in the same country. But all the people that I've met through motovlogging are either associates or mates or whatever, aren't they? Because if they're close, then you hang out, you go on ride outs, you go for lunch and stuff like that. Andy Mancam probably and Phil 480. Oh, and one who's dead, Sven Gali.
Right. I don't know if I've seen his videos in the past.
He used to do green laning videos, and he'd show you like the start, the finish, and talk about the lane on the way through it.
Right, okay.
And I started watching his channel as I first got into trail riding.
Right.
And I wasn't a member of the TRF or anything back then. This was back when I was in the Royal Navy still. So that I found useful because I could see where the lanes were.
Yeah.
And he rode a lot of the lanes that I ride nowadays. But he travelled all over the country doing it.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a favourite video or a series of videos that you made and what made them special for you?
My motovlogging history playlist has a very warm place in my heart. I really enjoy castles, and I really enjoy motorcycles, and nearly often, well, almost all the times, there's a good cafe to go to at a castle as well. So
Yep, yep,
I really very much enjoy the history side of things. So I really enjoyed making those videos, and the historic dockyard at Portsmouth as well, which
yep.
was a multi-video series. Um, but I did one video and it absolutely tanked. It did nothing. Um, I'm not sure if it was part of a challenge series of videos when I was on the Motovlog forum a bit more, but it was about a film called Quadrophenia.
Yep.
And I put a lot of effort into being in the right locations and talking about the film, how it made me feel. And when I first watched it, not watching it as an adult, but when I first watched it at 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah.
I really liked that video, but it did rubbish.
That's cool. As long as you liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Where do you see your channel going in the next couple of years?
Hopefully, carrying on growing. It does kind of grow. I try not to get obsessed with the stats, but it's very difficult to not keep checking them every minute.
I know.
So I'd love to see it carry on growing, but when I'm primarily a vlogging channel where I just talk rubbish, and it's always going to be a hobby, I don't want to be a full-time YouTuber. Although if I won the lottery, then maybe I would, but that wouldn't be it as a job. It would still be a hobby, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, just carry on enjoying what I do, and as long as I enjoy it, I'll carry on doing it. If it becomes a chore or I just feel like no one's watching, then maybe I'll call it a day with it. But currently, I just want to see a little bit of growth, and meet new people.
Yeah, good. Last question. Any advice for someone just starting out in motovlogging?
Practice. Make lots of practice videos that never see the light of day. So instead of going, I've got all this brand new kit, put it on my crash helmet and going and recording a video and then shoving that on the YouTube straight away as soon as you get home, go out, practice. Get your cameras pointing in the right direction with the correct settings. Get your audio to as good a level as you can get it before you start publishing stuff. If it is a cheaper camera or an older camera, do that YouTube trick I mentioned earlier because it still works. And have fun with it. Don't try and be the next Do It With Dan or what have you, because you're not going to be. 99.9% of people doing motovlogging are going to get to about 100 subscribers, and then they'll wrap their tits in, they'll give it up. It's only like a minute percentage that carry on doing it, even though they don't get huge growth. And it's a tiny fraction of those people that will make it big. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying do it for fun. Do it for fun first, rather than to become an Instagrammer or world famous or anything.
Yeah, do it because you enjoy it, not because you think you can make a living out of it. Yeah. You have now answered all the questions.
Awesome. That was a good bit of fun.
And you took longer than Mr. Fish. So.
Less time than Teapot.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No, thank you for having me. Like I say, I really appreciate being invited.
It's greatly appreciated. As I say, and I'll probably see you at the ABR, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And Steve and all that lot as well. I think they're all coming up. So yeah, it should be a good crowd of us up there. I'll have to make sure I bump into you a bit more often because you lot actually do things. I just sit in the beer tent.
Well, we're in there quite a lot as well, mind you. Peaky leading us astray.
Yes. Although he's off the booze at the moment, isn't he?
He is just now, but he'll be back on it, baby. Anyway, thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.